Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I will be speaking about forgiveness in the church, and I will be reading from 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 5 through 11. Let's get started. I am not overstating it when I say that the man who caused all the trouble hurt all of you more than he has hurt me. Most of you oppose him, and that was punishment enough. Now, however, it is time to forgive and comfort him. Otherwise, he may be overcome by discouragement. So I urge you now to reaffirm your love for him. I wrote to you as I did to test you and see if you will fully comply with my instructions. When you forgive this man, I forgive him too. And when I forgive whatever needs to be forgiven, I do so with Christ's authority for your benefit, so that Satan will not outsmart us, for we are familiar with his evil schemes. So in this passage that we just read from, we see here where Paul is explaining to the church that it was time to forgive the sinner who had been punished by the church. We also see where this man, the man who had apparently have sinned against the church, had repented of his sins and was in deep sorrow for what he had done. However, the church was being too hard on the sinner while refusing to let go of the past. The church was so focused on his past mistakes that they had failed to acknowledge that he had sought forgiveness from God while turning from his life of sin. The church was not trying to forgive, comfort, accept, and restore the sinner. They was just beating the sinner, or the repentant sinner, over the head. A lot of times church leaders or the members of the church become so stuck up in their own self-righteousness that they fail to remember what Jesus had taught us about forgiveness, love, mercy, and grace. Our goal as Christians are not to keep a brother in Christ down. However, we are to encourage them to get back on track, remain faithful to God, and remind them of God's love for them. And we have to remember that salvation is for everyone, not just one person, one race, but for all people. Satan does not want anybody to be forgiven or saved. He wants every believer out of church. Satan knows he has a short time left on earth, so he is trying to get enough people in hell as he possibly can. Church leaders should keep this in mind. Jesus wanted us to bring people to himself so that they may be where he is, which is in heaven. That's our goal as Christians. I think beating the sinner over the head is not going to make things any better. If you are a believer and you have forgiven yourself and you are remorsefully sorry for what you have done, then that's what matters most. Jesus is proud to know that you have seek forgiveness, you turn from your life of sin, and you're willing to start over and start a brand new life. That's what God is proud of you. But if a person or a church decides not to forgive you or accept you back into fellowship because of something you did 3 years ago, 2 years ago, or no matter, it doesn't matter. It can be anybody. It doesn't have to be church leaders or members. It can be a friend. It can be anybody. If you know in your heart that you have forgiven yourself and you want to change your life and you want to do better, then that's what matters most. Don't worry about what somebody else thinks. Don't worry about it. They don't let them point the finger at you about what you did. Don't let them bring you down. That ain't Satan. All it is Satan reminding you of what you did back then. That's all it is. They're not focused on the future, what God can do now, what he has done in the present, and what he will continue to do in the future with you as a believer. You got to remember that, even Paul was a believer in Jesus Christ. He is a believer, but before he was a believer in Christ, he persecuted the Christians. He even played a part in stoning of Stephen. When, Paul came to when Paul came and tried to preach to the people, it was like, well, that's too fast. There's no possible way that this man can possibly believe after all he had done. And people are forgetting to realize that God can use anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. God used Paul. He used David. He used all these Bible heroes have committed sin. And all these Bible heroes God had used. So that's what the moral of this story is. We shouldn't be too hard on Christians, and I want to encourage every Christian out there that our goal as believers are to bring people to Jesus. Our goal is to bring those who have been lost to Jesus. forgiveness, false forgiveness is not, oh, I forgive you halfway and I don't want to kind of get hurt again. So that's not what forgiveness is. If the person has truly repented and has had a changed life and a change of heart and is willing to not sin anymore, not, I wouldn't say not sin anymore, but kind of do the right thing, then uh, don't do that. I think you should focus on what the forgiveness part of it. But that's the more of this lesson is there needs to be forgiveness within the church, and we shouldn't keep beating someone over the head that has already been forgiven, that has seek forgiveness and have changed their life and is trying to move on from it. So just forget the past, move on. That's the moral of this story, guys. I appreciate you guys for coming, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And even if you don't, that's fine. Thank you.